Hey guys, so I am here to try and do a one take, no editing video, goodness help me, to do a highlight reel of the data I just pulled for Q4 of 2018. Now, little apology / disclaimer on the fact that if you're going through my website, which is where this video will mainly be posted, which is cryptkeepers.club, I'll post that in the description in case you're coming across this via YouTube instead of the website. But anyways, if you're going over the data housed in the website for the Crypt Keeper by criteria, which I try to do on a quarterly basis, the apology is the fact that I did not get to Q3 because I have been slaving away on a startup lately, which has been really fun and exciting and different, and it is in the realm of digital currency, not just digital currency, but currency in general. But yeah, I've been wicked busy. Q3, I blinked and it was over, and I was like, whoops, forgot to pull that data. So anyways, in 2018, you'll see data from Q1 to Q2 to Q4. So just keep that in mind. Anyways, I want to go over some of the highlights in each. Like if you go to each section in the Crypt Keeper by criteria on the website, a lot of it's really straightforward. But some of the insights that I pulled aren't as straightforward. And that's why I wanted to do a highlight reel that you're watching right now that will be posted over the top of each section of the Crypt Keeper by criteria. That said, let's jump into the different currencies, coins, projects that got added to the top 25 or so list. I usually pull the top 25 currencies on from coinmarketcap.com to evaluate throughout the year. And there's some that got added and we will welcome into the top 25 market cap, and there's some that obviously got booted out of the top 25 because there's only room for 25. So I would like to welcome, thanks to the fork, Bitcoin SV, aka Bitcoin Satoshi's Vision, which when I pull the data was in 8th place when it comes to market cap, relatively speaking. Dogecoin, like that was something, the underdog finally made it into the top 25. I was kind of impressed to see Dogecoin make it in there. And as the time I pulled this data, Dogecoin was hovering around like the 20th place for market cap. Maker also got added, and Tezos also got added. So I did a little more research as to like, okay, what's up with these? And Maker actually seems like a decent project that's on my like watch list in terms of things to potentially buy. If you have any insights on Maker, let me know in the comments on the website or the comments on the YouTube video, depending on where you're watching this. So anyways, Bitcoin SV, Doge, Maker, and Tezos. Those 4 got added in Q4 to the top 25. And the projects that got booted were Lisk, which got moved to about 34th place in market cap, Qtum, which got moved to about 33rd place in market cap, and Omise Go, I love saying that one, which got moved to about 27th in coin market cap. So now let's go into, like, if you're on the website and you hover over Crypt Keeper by criteria, let's go into the second, which is exchange listing. The first is inception date. And if you want any insights on inception date, that is like the most straightforward, easy data to process. It's just however long each project that was within the top 25, depending on the quarter, has been around for. And so obviously the coins that have been around the longest, for instance, like Bitcoin, which is the OG, everything else is an altcoin. But yeah, Bitcoin's definitely been around the longest. And the whole idea is that the coins that have been around the longest and still have a lot of active participation in developing the network are probably the coins that are going to be some of the strongest investments. That's the idea, assuming that there's still being enough energy funneled into making the project grow and be successful. So that's the first section, inception date. But then you hover over exchange listings. So I should probably put my glasses on, actually, by the looks of it. I'm gonna hover over, I know, they're big. There's like a pink glare, which is interesting, but whatevs. Hover over exchange listings, and then you scroll down, you see all the data for 2018. And the main things, like the highlights, as I shake the table. The highlights that stand out for 2018 is the biggest increases, which was Cardano, which saw a 93% increase in the number of exchanges that it's listed on, the number of markets that's available for Cardano. Again, they increased by 93%, moving from being listed on 15 exchanges to being listed on 29 exchanges. That's an increase of 14 exchanges that it's listed on. And the whole idea behind the incentive for being listed on more exchanges, or like the perks of being listed on more exchanges, is you're more available. You're more readily available for investment. Therefore, the odds are you're probably going to be invested in more often. Especially if your project can make it into some of the markets, some of the exchanges that have higher criteria for being listed as a potential investment, like Coinbase and Kraken. Yeah, there's more opportunity for money to flow your way. Ripple, or actually let's go to Stellar Lumens. I'm a fan of that project for sure. They saw an increase of 59% in terms of the number of exchanges that they're listed on, being moved from listing on 34 exchanges to now being listed on 54 exchanges. So they bumped up to 20 different new markets within the last couple quarters. And then let's see, third place was Ripple. Ripple went from being listed on 67 exchanges to now being listed on 99 exchanges. I'm reading from my show notes, obviously. And so that was a 48% increase in the number of exchanges that Ripple's been listed on. Ethereum Classic, surprisingly enough, is still doing pretty well, at least within some criteria, including this one. So they saw an increase of 46% in terms of the number of exchanges that they're listed on. Ethereum Classic went from being listed on 52 exchanges to being listed on 76 exchanges, which they added 24 new markets for themselves. That's cool. The ones that just did not do so hot, like the ones that did the worst, I'll highlight the two. The worst was VeChain. They decreased by 55% in terms of the number of exchanges they're listed on. They went from being listed on 29 exchanges to only being now listed on 13 exchanges. So VeChain not doing so hot. And then Bitcoin Cash, they were sucking pretty hard on some of these metrics. I'm not gonna lie. Like Bitcoin Cash saw a decrease of 40%. They went from being listed on 116 exchanges, which is quite a bit, and probably likely due to the fork aspect of it. Like a lot of exchanges decided to support the fork that birthed Bitcoin Cash, so to speak. And now some of those exchanges might not even want to carry it anymore. But yeah, they went from 116 exchanges markets to now 70 markets for Bitcoin Cash. So they saw a decrease of 40%. And just to make it, this whole criteria a little more relative to our newbies and the ones getting kicked off in terms of the top 25, Dogecoin is listed on 55 exchanges as of the time this data was pulled. Satoshi's Vision, again, likely due to the virtue of a fork, is listed on 47 in and of itself. Maker is only listed on 15 exchanges, so the fact that it made it to the top 25, yet it's only listed on 15 exchanges, is kind of impressive. And then same with Tezos, which is only listed on 9 exchanges. Omise Go, I mean, probably because it's an Ethereum project too, there's typically a lot more availability in terms of markets for Ethereum projects, just Ethereum-based ecosystem markets. Omise Go's list is still, even though it's not on the top 25 anymore, still listed on 71 exchanges, which is decent. Qdom's 59 and Lisk is 24. Okay, let's move on to the next round of data, which is platform size. So again, if you go to the website, hover over Crypt Keeper by criteria, and then go down to the third one, which is platform size, platform data. And what this does is it measures the projects that are platforms that are designed to be ecosystems that other tokens and projects are getting built on. And it calculates, well, I add up all of the different tokens that are listed on each platform, because the platforms that have more tokens listed on them are probably doing better. They're probably healthier. There's a lot more dependencies on that platform. Therefore, it's a more robust platform. It's got more things dependent on it. It's probably going to do better for that reason alone. But the thing is like every quarter I go in and evaluate this, Ethereum just blows everything else out of the water. Like, it's not even, it's barely worth like really going into this section because Ethereum just sloshes like, or like steps on everything, slashes everything. I don't know if that's not the best analogy, but I'm not going to edit it out. So let's keep going. Ethereum, but here's just for perspective. Ethereum in obviously first place in terms of the number of platform sizes that it's listed on is over 1,000. It's at the time I pulled this, it was 1,057 tokens, different projects listed on Ethereum, built on ERC20 or now whatever the new ERC token is. That's a lot, over 1,000. Second place, so here's first place, over 1,000. Second place was Neo, the Chinese Ethereum equivalent, so to speak. But this Chinese Ethereum, Neo, only has a whopping 27. So the discrepancy between the first place and the second place is one of the widest margins I think I've ever evaluated in anything. It's ridiculous. So Neo only has 27 dependencies, other tokens listed on it, versus Ethereum, which has over 1,000. And something I wanted to point out on a side note on this, because obviously Ethereum Classic's definitely still getting some love. They're still in the top 25 market cap. They're still doing pretty well. Like they saw a big increase in terms of the number of markets and exchanges that it's being listed on. Yet Ethereum Classic only has one token listed on it. So for all the over 1,000 tokens that are being built on the Ethereum network, the one that got forked and that like the main developers are still supporting, relatively speaking, the original Ethereum Classic, which still has a decent amount of investment flowing into it, only has one token listed on it. So that should be a word to the wise if you hold Ethereum Classic, like I also do, but still, like where's the substance really coming from if no one's building on the platform? That's all I'm going to say about that one. Before we move on to the fourth section, which was on the website still titled GitHub project info, but I think I'm going to switch that name to repository info, like repository data, because it's like most of the projects, I try and find their main GitHub, and GitHub is the main type of like repository that they use for their project, for development. But there's some that don't use GitHub, so to be a little bit more like not grammatically, but a little bit just more correct, bottom line, I'll probably use repository from now on. So anyways, in terms of the repositories, what I do is I evaluate this by taking the total commits for the main repository of each project and the total stars for the main repository of each project. I report those individually, but then I also have a column where I add the two together and call it TA, or total activity points, because I think the commits and the stars together represent a decent idea of how developers are participating and feeling about a given project. So I'm going to go off of total activity points when I'm explaining these numbers. And then let's see. So in terms of the ones that are doing, I'll just kind of rank them. Total activity points, first place with over 55,000 total is Bitcoin. Bitcoin's still doing really well. Second place, which again, a pretty significant margin between the two. Bitcoin has over 55,000 in its GitHub repo, and Ethereum only has a little over 32,000 total activity points in its GitHub repo. So Bitcoin, in terms of commits and stars, is still doing significantly better, over 20,000 better than Ethereum is as far as commits and stars go. Next, in third, well, I'll just do kind of like, because after Ethereum, like the next highest was in the 19,000 range, and there was a few of them in the 19,000 range. So EOS, Cardano, Litecoin, and Qtum all had about 19,000 or so total activity points between commits and stars. So Bitcoin doing really well, Ethereum holding its own on second place, and then, you know, like a decent amount less than that, like less than 15 or more than 15,000 under that would be EOS, Cardano, Litecoin, and Qtum. Shout out to Tron, because Tron as a project, which is also looking pretty good when I do research on it. Again, this is another one where I want to know more. So if you have more info on Tron, like really cool insights that you can't readily find, please leave comments, let me know, like links to videos, something like that. I'm curious. Tron is on my radar. But anyways, Tron saw a 66% increase in total activity points. They had the biggest increase within Q4, from Q2 to Q4, because again, I missed Q3. And to put this in relative perspective for the 25 that, or, you know, the ones that got added to the 25 versus the ones that got kicked off the 25, Satoshi's Vision is doing the best in terms of repositories with about 14,000 total activity points. Dogecoin has about 10,000 total activity points, which I actually thought would be higher considering how long Dogecoin is around for. And side, like a little tangent comment, the fact that Dogecoin was honestly made to be kind of like a joke in this market, yet it's doing so well to where it breached the top 25. Yet it still only has 10,000 like activity points, commits, and stars cumulatively on its repository. Makes me a little bit nervous about actually using it as an investment, because it would be one thing if Dogecoin was created as a joke in the beginning, but then there was a lot of solid development flowing into it to make it a strong, viable, reasonable option. But the fact that it only has 10,000 activity points versus some of the others, and it was created as a joke, makes me want to caution people more as an investment. However, if like by this time next year, all of a sudden there's tons of activity in terms of good development in its repository, I'd probably be more likely to give Dogecoin a thumbs up and look at it myself for like more investment. But anyways, that's just to put things into perspective, a little highlight. Tezos and Maker only have like 2,000 and 1,000 respectively in terms of total activity points, the commits and the stars. Qtum would have been, if Qtum was still in the top 25, would have been within that kind of third place 19,000 bracket. Lisk only has 12,000, and Omisego, I mean, like, let me know if Omisego has a repository somewhere else besides GitHub, but it's like, it's really doing awful on GitHub. Omisego only has 434, like not even 1,000, not even 500 total activity points in GitHub. So yeah, that one's definitely struggling, which does not look good because, I mean, development on these projects is so key to how strong a platform is going to be. Okay, moving on to Twitter. So if you go to CryptKeeper by criteria, scroll down till you get to the section that says Twitter data. And within the digital currency crypto community, Twitter and Reddit are probably the two main social media hubs that have been the strongest, the longest within this market in terms of influence that these different projects have. So that's why I feel like pulling data on this is important, because obviously the projects that have the most Twitter followers or the most Reddit subscribers are probably going to be inherently stronger investments because there's that much more hype going into it. There's that much more attention flowing into it. Anyways, the only highlights outside of the obvious that you can see on the website that I'll make for the Twitter is that Bitcoin Cash, oh my God, Bitcoin Cash tanked harder than anything. Of all the data that I processed this quarter, this piece of data is the saddest. I'll be honest, Bitcoin Cash lost 99.8% of its Twitter followers. From 104,000 followers, ballpark, in Q2 of 2018, to now in Q4, it only has 191 followers. So 104,000 followers within the same year drops to 191 followers. So Bitcoin Cash, I saw a note that was pinned to the top of the Bitcoin Cash Twitter feed that they're, as of end of November of this year, they're like back in action and they're trying to post things, but they're still, you know, there's still only a trickling of followers that are coming back after that statement. I don't know why they left in the first place. Again, this is one of those things. If you do, let me know. I'm curious now because that was a really significant number drop. And then if that was the biggest decrease in followers on a platform, Tron had the biggest increase in followers on the Twitter platform of 13.5%, because Tron went from having 315,000 followers in Q2 to now 355,000 in Q4. So good job, Tron. Relatively speaking, if you know, 13.5% increase was the biggest increase across the board on the ones that were evaluated. So not huge. I'm wondering if Twitter in and of itself isn't as popular of a place for people to be getting information. And I feel like within the Twitter thing, I do want to make a side note on Ethereum. I feel like Ethereum, I pulled from the Ethereum Twitter feed, but if I were to add like Vitalik's into that, it probably would be a lot higher. Instead of being in 4th place, Ethereum could have easily been in maybe like 2nd or 3rd. Bitcoin and Ripple are holding it up at over 900,000 followers. Like Bitcoin is so close to 1 million Twitter followers. So Bitcoin's definitely doing the best. Ripple's doing pretty well at over 900,000 as well as of Q4. Ethereum only has 437,000, but again, if I added Vitalik's into that, which is very relevant to the Ethereum ecosystem, that number would probably be a lot higher, more competitive, possibly a 3rd, if not 2nd place. Now let's go to, this video turned out way longer than I thought, but thanks for bearing with me. Now let's move to the Reddit data. I think the most important things that stand out outside of the obvious within the Reddit data is that Stellar Lumen had a pretty big increase in subscribers of 23.5%. They moved from 80,000 subscribers to 98,000 subscribers by Q4. No project lost subscribers, so the way the Reddit forums ecosystem might work, it doesn't seem like a lot of people just go unsubscribing from projects. OmiSayGo and Litecoin, that being said, the two that gained the smallest amount of followers were OmiSayGo and Litecoin. OmiSayGo only gained 0.7% new followers and Litecoin only gained 0.5% new followers. So Litecoin's been struggling too, which doesn't shock me. I said back, I don't know, over a year ago, whenever their founder decided to sell so much of his holdings, I was like, that's usually a really bad sign for a project. I'm not surprised that Litecoin doesn't have a lot of hype to it anymore. Okay, so that's as I stretch, that is the highlight reel for Q4 2018. I hope you found this video helpful, and even more than this video, I hope you find the data that it's referencing really helpful. So again, go to cryptkeepers.club, hover over CryptKeeper by criteria, check out some of these updates, leave comments if you have some good ones, and I will see you hopefully, assuming I don't get swept away in startup land again, I will see you in Q1 of 2019. Can't believe it's already almost here, and have a safe and happy New Year, holiday season, all that jazz.